The old warrior believed his past would stay unnoticed. Then a young sailor caught sight of the tattoo and froze. The diner's ceiling fan turned sluggishly, barely stirring the heavy midday air. Tom, steel grip. Donovan sat at his usual counter seat, his sleeveless white t-shirt exposing arms roped with muscle and etched with faded ink. The tattoo on his right bicep, a jagged emblem pierced by a dagger, glinted as he raised his iced tea. Across the room, a young man in a crisp navy uniform nearly let his burger slip. His gaze locked on the tattoo, his body stiffening. That symbol, it couldn't be. Soon, the diner's easy hum would shatter. Tom would feel a stare he hadn't sensed in years, and the sailor would face a choice. Honor an old man's quiet life or unearth a truth hidden for decades. At 70, Tom still had the build of a linebacker, though now he only used his strength to wrestle open tough pickle jars. The half-sleeve tattoo was usually just part of the scenery, something a passing biker might acknowledge with a nod before returning to his plate. That's how Tom preferred it. No salutes, no "thank you for your service," just coffee and calm. Until today, Tom sensed the presence before he saw him. A shadow fell across the counter. The sailor, early 30s, with the rigid posture of a military man, stood close enough for Tom to notice the tremble in his hands. "That ink," the young man said, voice low, almost a murmur. "You were with the Red Sand Unit." Tom's glass hit the counter with more force than intended. No one knew that name. Not anyone who wasn't meant to. Petty Officer Mark Salazar had seen that insignia only once, in a classified file about a mission so deeply buried even most admirals were unaware of it. His grandfather had spoken of it in hushed tones on his deathbed. And now, here was one of them, in person, with biceps bigger than Mark's thighs, staring at him like he'd seen a specter. Tom wiped the condensation from his glass. "Don't know what you're talking about, kid." Mark reached into his back pocket and pulled out his wallet. Inside was a photo of a younger Mark next to an elderly Filipino man. "My grandfather was your interpreter. He said you saved 17 men before they abandoned you." Tom's breath caught. The face in the photo was older, but those eyes, he'd recognize them anywhere. Mateo, the only civilian who stayed when the helicopters never arrived. The ice in Tom's glass cracked under his tightening grip. "They told you we cut and ran, didn't they?" Mark's jaw clenched. "The report said." Tom's bellow cut through the diner, silencing it. Forks stopped scraping. The fry cook switched off the grill. "We held that LZ for 72 hours. No ammo, no comms." Tom's voice cracked. "Your grandfather carried our wounded on his back until the fever took him." Mark stood motionless, silent. Then, before God and the entire diner, he snapped to attention and saluted so sharply his triceps quivered. Tom studied the young man, really studied him, and saw Mateo's stubborn chin, his same unmistakable eyebrows. Slowly, with effort, he rose from the stool and returned the salute, his bicep tattoo flexing with emotion. When Mark lowered his hand, his eyes were glistening. "Master Chief Donovan, I have something for you." He reached into his bag and produced a small wooden box. "My grandfather's notes. Every name, every coordinate. Enough to get your men recognized." The ceiling fan ticked above. A coffee pot gurgled somewhere. Tom accepted the box, his hands steadier than he expected. Outside, the sun scorched the parking lot asphalt. For the first time in 40 years, Tom didn't mind the heat.